Hey, how you guys doing? So this is Neil from masterpaintnow.com bringing you another free art lesson. I'm one of the top art instructors on Udemy with over 30,000 happy students, all growing and learning. So grow with us. All right, let's get started. All right, how you doing? So this is the Digital Ross painting. That is, we're going to paint like Bob Ross but digitally here using PaintStorm. Now, I'm going to show you first the picture we're going to be doing. It's actually a very easy one. It looks difficult, but you'll see how easy it really is, especially with my Bob Ross digital paintbrushes. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to figure out what part of this canvas that we want to use. And right now I have it at 4,500 pixels by 6,000 pixels. I think it's a little bit too wide, so I'm just going to cut off part of it here, make it longer so it matches. And to do that, you just take the tool here in PaintStorm, which is a crop tool, crop it, hit OK like I just did, and now our canvas is ready to go. Then I'm going to click the paintbrush icon here. Now, if you haven't already installed the Bob Ross brushes, all you have to do is go to my website. The link is in the description, masterpaintnow.com. Sign up to the newsletter by just clicking on newsletter there at the top, and then you'll be emailed the links to the brushes. I have both Krita, which is a free program, and the PaintStorm brushes. Make sure to download the proper one for the right application. I also tell how to install those brushes on there. All you do is you hit this little icon button right here, then you go to you go to import brushes right here. Just remember where you save the file, click that file, boom, the brushes will be imported. They'll even be named Bob Ross for you. The first thing we're going to do is use my soft cloud brush here. I have the sharp cloud, then I have the cloud brush. So we're going to use the cloud brush here, and I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of my brush. I have shortcuts set here on my two buttons. The first thing is we need to start with kind of like that blue cyan color. And I like this. It's a nice kind of trippy acid trip back to the 60s before my time. And I want to also think about where the horizon line is, which is here in the center, and what's above the horizon line. So I know that tree, and then you guys can't see I'm pointing at, but above that is the two waterfalls. So I know that right about here, that's where the first waterfall is going to start. And up here, this is where the other terrain is going to start here. Just going to kind of put something like that in there. Now I make sure it's kind of bright here. I want a nice bright color. Just little circle motions. Now this is really important. Just like when Bob Ross is working with his 2-inch brush and he just lightly touches the canvas with the corner of the brush, just little circles, and just push hard just a little bit hard at first, and then lighten it up and just kind of move it around. Little circles like this. This is all I'm doing, just little circles. We're going to fill this in with some color. I want the bluish color to... Actually, I think I want it even more cyan than that, really. And then we're just going to lightly bring this out over here. We'll add some other different color over there, but this is the main source right here that I want to be nice and bright. I can continue to go over this with different lightnesses and pick up the colors underneath. That's what's nice about PaintStorm, is it'll pick up that white underneath as if I'm using liquid white, which is really nice. And so I'm thinking something about like that will be fine. Now we got to take a darker color. So on the color wheel, I'm just going to move toward the purple. And then I'm going to go down a little bit desaturated and make it a little bit darker. I don't want it too dark. I also don't want it too saturated. I want more of a desaturated color, so I move it over to the left, as you can see there. And I'm just going to kind of lightly mix this color in like so. Just little soft circles. I vary my pressure between pushing a little bit harder and a little bit softer. Like so. I want to make sure those colors blend together nicely. I'm not going for an exact replica of what I created before, because we're using the Bob Ross method, which means every time you get something different. because of happy accidents. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit whiter. I meant whiter. There we go. Just kind of add that up. Now I'm going to use my awesome blending brush. That is actually the name of the brush. The awesome blending brush. Which is right here, the third from the bottom. I remember by the little icon, I put a little shovel icon, although it's not really a shovel. It's supposed to be some sort of knife thing, but it looks more like shovel to me. Make it as big as it'll go. Work on a really big canvas here, so if you wanted to print it, you can. Now, with this you can do little soft circle motions, like you're blending it out. This is the same thing as if Bob Ross was using a nice soft dry brush, his blending brush, with no paint on it. And he just lightly touches the canvas and blends out his clouds. And that's what we're doing here, although these can be clouds or it can be mist. I'm just going to kind of blend out some of that texture. I'm going to leave maybe some of it this time to make it look a little bit more like clouds. And then you can also just lightly brush it back and forth. I'm using very little pressure when I do that, very, very little pressure. I'm going to go back to the cloud brush here again. So basically, we're going back to our 2-inch brush and we're going to load it with some more paint here. I'm going to make this a little bit more toward the green, so a little bit more cyan, because I really want this to be nice and bright right here like I had in the original. Like so. And I'm going to just lightly blend that out with this brush right here, and I think that'll look just fine. The next we need to go down with this nice pink color. It's like a fuchsia. And this is a very hard color to mix with your standard paint, especially with the Bob Ross colors. What you're going to want is you're going to want a type of red that's like, I think it's a crimson red. There's reds that are more oranges and there's reds that are more like purples, more blues. And that's the kind of red you want, that when you add white to it, it turns into this beautiful fuchsia color. And we're going to go almost full saturation with this color. We're just going to really lay down some just hotness right now. Look at that beautiful color. Just these two colors are just so beautiful together, the cyan and the beautiful fuchsia. Just nice little soft circles, a little more when I want to have more color, just a little bit more pressure. When I want less color, I just blend that white right into it with less pressure. This is so great because it really does feel just like as if I'm using my nice 2-inch brush on my canvas, just fluffing out the cloud, putting in some color. I'm going to just kind of lightly fluff it up into this blue, and they're going to mix together very nicely because this works just like paint. Just pull up, just lightly go like this and just flick it up, just very, very little pressure. And we're going to blend that in with very, very small circles and little pressure, just like so. And then I want to add maybe some more whitish pink over here. We're just going to lightly blend this in. We're going to work our way to the left hand side like so. And then I want to add some more violet color, so I'm going to go back toward the blue, and that's where I'm going to get that more violet color. Drop it down maybe to the middle. And we're going to put this color right here, kind of press a little bit harder, and like so. Now this time I'm just going to leave it like that. I know it looks unfinished, but that's why we use our awesome blending brush. This allows for nice fluffy little clouds, little mist. Sometimes you can just grab it and just lightly just pull up on it like this. Just kind of blend that around, blend these into each other. And it's all a matter of how much you want to blend it. How much do you want it to look like mist? How much do you want it to look like clouds? You can pull it down like that, and that gives you almost like a waterfall effect right there. But that's not what we're going for yet. Waterfalls will come soon. Like so. And I like it blended like that. Then I'm going to go back to my cloud brush and maybe add just a little bit more. Just grab this color right here. I'm using I have my right mouse click set to my pen here. I just grab that color. But you use the color picker right there. or use the Alt key on your keyboard. Pick up that color. Just make another happy cloud right there. Grab this pink and just bring it right back into it again. Make a happy little cloud up like that. I think I'm going to leave it like that, kind of like how the two colors overblend each other. Now this is where it gets really interesting. I bring this hot pink color all the way down to the bottom here. And if you want to zoom in and out, you can do that right here. You can also click this or click this to go right to the actual size. That's actual size, and this right here would be fit on the screen size. And I can actually zoom out just a little bit more if I needed to, for you guys can see. And I can see the entire thing, like so. Now here's where some magic happens. We're going to use this like brilliant orange, very, very saturated orange. And when the saturated orange mixes with this fuchsia, they almost cancel each other out and make an interesting color. That's the color I'm looking for here at the bottom. I don't want too much of it. Something like that. I'm just looking at the reference to make sure. I'm kind of want to make it somewhat similar. I don't want it to be exact, but add a little bit more hot pink back in there, like so. Now this all depends on how saturated you want this. You can make it really saturated, you can make it less saturated. That's all up to you. It's all up to the look that you're going for. If you want to add a little more white into it, you can add more white into it and add that. But I kind of like the saturated color, and you can always bring it down later if you think it's a little too much. So I have that orange and that pink kind of mixed together. I didn't want that to go there. And that's what's good. You make a happy accident on digital Bob Ross, the digital Ross can just hit the undo button. I know Bob Ross wish he had an undo button when it comes to painting on the digital or on the non-digital canvas. And I might do a Bob Ross tribute with actual paints here soon. Right, that's really the basis of our clouds that we want laid in. If you want, you can blend some of that out some more. I'm just going to blend a little bit of this, not much, especially over here on the left-hand side, because this is where it's going to all turn into mist anyway. So I'm just going to kind of blend some of that out. And I'm just going to lightly touch this here and there. Just going back and forth just a little bit, like so. Now we're going to use our mountain brush. Now this is basically, you go here, it's called the mountain brush here. Now this is basically the same thing as if we were using the knife. But this is a square knife, so it's not quite a knife, but it's nice. Now we're going to pick a nice dark color. I want a nice dark bluish, almost maybe slightly going on the violet side. We're going to go down, make it desaturated. We don't want it too saturated. And we're going to lay in these shapes here that we had in the original painting. So I know that right away from the beginning, I want to go and make that right there. Now, if for whatever reason my brushes aren't working right for you right now, it might be because they just did an update on PaintStorm, and I noticed that my textures are a little bit off because they added this new feature with textures. So go to textures if you have to. You might have to turn down the texture strength just a little bit. If it's at 100, maybe turn it down to about 96 to 94, and then make sure maybe texture contrast is like at 71. And make sure that this, by default, it should only have the opacity. I'm going to turn off color multiply. I don't know why that was even turned on. And then I can right click. I can save that now as my default brush. So if I ever have to load my brushes again back to default, then boom, that would be my default now. Okay. I'm going to bring this down here a little bit farther than what you think you need, because we work it in layers. So just like Bob Ross, he thought in layers, and that's what we want to do. We want to think in layers. Also, once I get all these brushes fine-tuned again, I'm going to re-put a new link, the new file, update the file on the website. That way they'll work with the new version just right out of the box, so to speak. Now I want this other part to kind of come down like a cliff like this, and then I want the part to kind of stick up, and you can give it whatever shape you want. The shape's not that important, just kind of throw in some shapes in here. We're going to add some texture to this in a little bit, like so. And this is going to be where the first waterfall in the background is going to come off of, but first we're going to throw our bushes on there. I'm going to leave this like that for now, but if you actually want, let's go ahead and add some texture. We're going to use our knife brush here. Now there's two different ones here. This one is more subtle and a different texture, and this one here is our actual rock texture that we want. Now I'm keeping everything kind of on the blue side of things, so I'm going to go kind of blue here, desaturated blue, kind of dark, and we're going to add just a little bit of light coming from this side over here, on the right side. And just do a couple strokes just to indicate that there is some rock texture here. And that's all we need, just like that, and you come and blend it in. Now if you wanted to, you can zoom in, and just to make sure that for print it's going to look the way you want it to, you can kind of fix some of this and just make it nice and perfect and get some nice details in there. But honestly, if what you're going for is that digital raw style, which is basically Bob Ross in digital, then you want to just do it from a distance here. You really want to stay at a distance, because when you zoom in like that and you go for that kind of detail, you're losing that kind of loose Bob Ross feel. Alright, next thing you do is trees. Now we can use one of our pine tree brushes, but I'm going to use a cheating brush to make this go faster. That's what I did in the original. And this here is called my, looks like it says Far Pines, I think. I'm going to take this original color here by holding down the Alt key and picking it up. If you're using Krita, it's actually the Control key for some reason. We're going to go up to the left a little bit. We just want a little bit not quite as dark. And I'm just going to lightly vary my pressure and go up and down here. So I want some darker, and then like that. Boom. Now that might be a little bit too light. Yeah, I think that's too light. So I'm going to undo all that. I'm going to go back to this color again. I'm just going to go up. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit bluer, like so. And see how that looks first. That's too saturated. We're just going to go over here now. I think that's about right. Yeah, I like that. Okay, we're going to, again, I'm going to do not quite what I did last time. I'm going to do a little bit different. What I like about this brush here is, although it's kind of like a cheating brush, it really isn't. Yeah, it adds some quick shapes like that, but the shapes are very abstract, and so you don't get something that looks absolutely perfect. That is, it doesn't look like you cheated. Kind of cheating without cheating. But it's kind of like as if you used the brush and just kind of pushed up like that, but you saved a little bit of time doing it, which is fine, I think. Next, we're using my brush, one of my bush brushes. So I have a couple here, and well, actually I have two. I have this one and this one. We're going to use the bottom one to start out with. This is more for distant details. The other one's for more close details, and I like to mix them together. Now here we're going to use a slightly green color. Just leave it where it's at and just go toward the green. Not all the way green, but just go toward the green. Let's test this out first and see how dark it is. That's a little bit not right, and so I'm going to make it a little bit darker, a little bit bluer, and I think that'll work. Let's find out. Yeah, we always want to lay down our dark bushes first. Now we don't want to cover those trees completely, and I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger. Little circles. So how I'm applying the brushes, get a feel for how hard you have to do it. Sometimes a little bit harder, sometimes a little bit softer. And just kind of put the bushes in there, like so. I'm going to kind of hang that bush off a little bit. Let it kind of blend in with those other colors. Looks nice. And then we're going to take that color right there, that lighter color. Maybe you make it a little bit lighter and a little bit greener. And make my brush just a little bit smaller. I'm going to add just a little bit of details from the right hand side. Like so. Just to make it look like there's a little bit of light falling on the bushes. A little bit of texture. A bit light. We don't need much. It's in the background. It's okay. Yeah, I think that's about right. The next thing we want to do is we're going to add in our first waterfall. Then we got to remember, we're thinking of layers. What overlaps what? So we know that the waterfall overlaps this. First, we know this overlaps the clouds in the sky in the background, so we lay that down first. We know the trees, and well, we know that this whole entire thing we just painted overlaps that, so we think in layers. So we know that the bushes overlap the trees in the background, so we're painting it in layers. You want to think in layers. So when you're doing a painting from your imagination, making a cool thing, or from a reference, think about it in layers like that. What is in front of what? Now we know the waterfall is going to go in front of this. Then we know the mist is going to go in front of the waterfall, so we're going to paint it in stages like that. Now this is a really fun brush to use. We're going to go ahead and go to our, this is the pine, looks like I put a W there on accident, pine tree and bushes. Anyway, this is basically, I should just change the icon to a knife, because this is like a knife. It's like your ultimate tool. You can make pine trees with it, you can make waterfalls with it, you can make water with it. Just it's really kind of an endless brush. I'm going to take maybe this color here. Yeah, I might as well just stick with this color actually. And I'm just going to kind of pull this off here. We're going to make a edge. And I'm deciding where I want my edge to be here. I don't want it to come out that far, so let's see. I think instead I'm going to have the edge be about where I have it in the original. So right about here, we're just going to make a line going straight like this. Now to do that, this is the angled brush. I have it set to default, so it's horizontal like that. You can always change that if you wanted to, you know, because I have it for trees. For trees, you do this kind of technique. You pull it down. I need to make it bigger. If I want to make a bigger tree, then you kind of push off. Make it anyway. I've showed you guys how to do it before, and it works really nicely for making pine trees. I'd just show right here real quickly. You kind of go like that, and that'd make the edge of the tree like that. And you can make this side over here. I'd have to make it bigger and smaller to make other parts of the tree. Like that. So that's why I have it set that way. But sometimes you need to reset the orientation of the brush so that by default, good thing this has a lot of undos, otherwise that would have been a happy accident, wouldn't it? So we have it sideways. So you don't have to go like this. You can always go and change that. So you can just go to the angle, click on, no actually, you go to the brush form. And then I've been using so many programs here, I'm losing track of what's what sometimes. I think, oh yeah, that's right. I think this one you have to actually go to here and change it this way. And so you just, I think you can, for a quick fix, you can just go like, I guess none of those. Well, anyway, so you'd have to turn it like this. I'm not going to do it, but you would just turn it sideways until it's facing this way. And then that would make sure that it would be facing that way. Alright, so we're just cutting in that line right there, that dark line. I know it's going to be really hard to see. And everything else we're going to be doing, and if you wanted to, you can actually make this a slightly lighter color, just so that you can make it out and see what you're doing here. We can always make it dark if we needed to again. Just kind of pull it like that. And then next thing I want to do is I want to make another one a little bit below that one, like right about here. Like so, and that's just so I can see that curve right there. I'm gonna go up, just go up and down. We're just laying in a solid color here, and that's about what it's gonna look like. And then maybe come out a little bit right here, like so. You're just kind of adding like a cliff thing, so you have different areas to put your waterfall in. Now, when we do the waterfall, we're gonna use a lighter color. We're gonna use, looks like kind of a purplish white. So we're just going to come up here, keep the same color, maybe like somewhere about that area of the color wheel here. So it's, yeah, I think that would be about right. Now this is where it's fun. You want to just come in and swoop down. Make sure your brush is the right size. You don't want to be too big or too small. And we're going to just come right along the edge here and then drop it down. And I think I want it a little bit bluer, like so, and maybe a little bit darker. Let me see. Yeah, I still think that's a little too dark or too light. There we go. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. Now start right on the edge. Kind of first you want to move. Well, I'll show you this way first. You want to kind of move this way and then down. This camera can hopefully see me as well. You're going to move this way and then down. This way and down like that. But right on the edge there. So you just want to make a little bit of an edge and then down. little bit of edge, and down. Like so. Make sure it comes straight down, and then you want to go over it a couple times just to kind of blend it in. If you want to zoom in on that, you can. I don't think it's necessary. Don't worry about going over things. Remember, things overlap. We're going to go back over that again with another color. Then we're going to start right here on this area and do the same thing, and whoosh, come down. Just come across and down. So you're cutting across and then down. You don't want to do like straight down. You don't want to go like that. Otherwise it kind of looks like an angle. You want to kind of curve it just a little bit as you're coming down. And I'm going to kind of add some strokes in here. Like so. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You want to go all the way across and kind of vary it to get some streams that are coming. And there's a darker spot there. We don't have to go down too far because we're going to have another cutoff here at some point. And so, yeah. I'm going to take this darker color here for a second. I'm going to come down just a little bit farther. Just etching that in kind of hard. I'm going to go back up to that kind of blue color. I should have saved that color. Like so. I also have a Bob Ross color palette, but it's not on this program, I don't think. I think it's on Krita. But you can always make one. They have them online. Oops. So in other words, just come across and down. And down. Make sure you're coming down and not at an angle. So come straight down like this. Come across and come straight down. Like so. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger. And what's cool about PaintStorm is it's actually picking up some of those colors underneath. Because that's what I have the brush set to do. Which I believe is under General. Yeah, and then under Color Mount, it's taking underlaying colors. This time I made it a little bit different, but you want some gaps in there. That is some darker gaps, so it looks more natural, like there's land breaking, and that's good. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn the brush down again. You can use the brackets on your keyboard to make the brush go up and down. They've actually added it now that you can hold it down and it'll go up or down in size. You can also go and adjust the size right here if you need to under General. Now take this same color, but first I want to make this darker again. So I'm going to take this dark color here. I'm going to add some of this right here back in there. Add some of that cliff back into here like so. I don't want to remove that nice waterfall though, where I have a little bit of that water coming up, so I'm going to leave that there, but I'm going to just add some black. It's not quite black, but like so. Now we have that nice little two cliffs overlapping each other, which looks really nice. I like the fact that I went further back this time than I did in the original painting. I like that. We're going to take this same color, just color pick it, and just make a couple little lines, maybe make the brush smaller. And this is going to be basically the light. Remember, this is kind of nighttime, so this is just the light hitting. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting across sideways, as if I'm using a knife, and I'm just cutting across with the palette knife, adding a little bit of color in there, and then I'm touching it up with like a blender brush, but we can use all with one tool. And so I'm just going to add what looks like a little bit of water coming off from this side over here, and we come right back over and just cut right back into it and blend it out like so. And that's all you need. You just need an indication that there's movement back there. You can maybe, you know what? Look at that little happy accident. Look what I just did there. You see that? Just made a whole new little waterfall just coming down like that. See, now it looks like water is coming from there and then it's coming back down here. Now I can just kind of cut across, kind of push up on the brush. So you don't want to push up too hard, otherwise it looks like a really big splash, but you just want to just lightly push up and touch. You can even do little circles and kind of scrumble, but what this will add is what looks like a little bit of water kind of rushing up, and then we'll kind of pull that and come and pull some of that off. I like that. That's nice. Now we got what looks like waterfalls, overflowing waterfalls. Looks pretty neat. Alright, so next we're going to add in our next landmass. Now this landmass, I'm going to take that same color, I'm going to leave it the same, I just want to rotate it toward a different color. So either rotate it toward purple, rotate it toward blue. In this case I'm going to rotate it more toward blue because I think that matches better. And I'm going to use this brush right here just to make it bigger. It's a very versatile brush. It's kind of like a fan brush. Yeah, it's kind of like a fan brush basically. It's a very versatile one. I want to cut right across here where I want this to come out. So I'm going to come like so and come down just a little bit. Don't want it to be perfectly straight. And I don't want to come out as far as this. So I know that I want to be only to about here. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that yet because we got to think in layers. So let's go back to our cloud brush. You can also use the sky brush to add some of the, if you wanted to, but I like the cloud brush here. So we're going to use the cloud brush and we're going to take that color that's already there, kind of with a little bit more white in it, and we're going to come right up and we're going to just blend this in because this is coming on top. Notice I'm working all in one layer here. Now, if you feel uncomfortable with that, every now and again you can add a new layer. So after you add the sky, you can add a new layer, and I think it still picks up the underlying colors, I think. And I don't want to cover too much of this, but I do want to cover enough of it. And I might want to bring that waterfall there down a little bit farther. Let's go ahead and go back to our, there we go. Make it small again. Our nice fan brush, and just pull that waterfall in the background down like that, off, like it's coming off to the side. Then we'll come back to our cloud brush here. We're just going to pull this color, make it a little more white. Add some white right back into there. Oh, that was too much. Really light touches. There we go. I'm going to grab this color, mix those two colors together, and just kind of come up. I don't want to go too high because this is where I want to kind of blend. I'm going very, very light pressure, little circles. And notice how it kind of blends out and almost looks like smoke or mist. Now if you want to blend that, you can blend that now with an awesome blender. Just very lightly, you do little strokes like this. You're coming down and up, little half circles like this. I'm just kind of fluffing it up like that. Very light pressure. And I'm doing little circles now. It's like little scrumbling circles with very light pressure. And what that does is makes it look like mist. Kind of rotate this is a rotating brush. If you don't have tilt function on your tablet, that's unfortunate because that's a big part of the feeling of painting like Bob Ross. You can just turn it around like that. But if you can't, that's okay. You can still get a really nice effect. Something on my screen. There we go. Doesn't want to come off. There, okay. Now we can come back in with the... Nope, that's not the right one. There we go. And we're going to take that color again. I'm going to go toward blue. And we're just going to cut across here, right about there. Actually a little bit higher, right about there. Come down. We don't want to go too far, so I'm going to start with how far I want it to go. So I want it to come right about here. And just kind of come across like so. I think that's about right. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Now here's where we're going to have a waterfall kind of coming behind and in front. We can always come back with the tool again. Again, thinking about it in layers. We don't want this too thick. Maybe about like that. Because remember, the halfway point of this picture is supposed to be where that bush starts. So. And we might have went down a little too far. That's okay. Doesn't need to be exact every time. It could be a little bit different. That's part of the fun. Now, how I originally did this is I thought about the waterfall in layers. So first I laid down a really dark, kind of dark purplish color. So just pretty much this color right here. And if you want to use this brush, you can do that, but it takes a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and use my... You can either use the bat brush. This brush might work too. That's texture already, but I'm going to use this brush right here. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit darker than that. So let's just bring it down a little bit. And I'm just thinking about where the waterfall is going to be here. Come up a little bit higher, and I want my waterfall to come at an angle like this, come down. I'm just thinking about how far I want it to come down, so a little bit further than halfway, so about like that. You can always draw a little bit farther than what you're going to do because you can always cut back, and like so. I'm going to go back to that brush, which is the pine something tree brush thing. It's the bottom tree icon. I probably should change the icon. I don't know if I have a fan brush icon anyway. So let's go ahead and use a kind of a pink color at first for the waterfall, and we're going to come just like before, just come straight and then come at a slight angle and just follow that shape that you want the water to fall down in. Just come whoosh, come across and whoosh down like that. I'm going to leave some dark parts in there because we're going to be adding different layers of color here. And this is something I don't know if Bob Ross ever really did much. He usually just took whatever color, usually white, and whatever color was underneath, that's what color the water blended with. And it looked nice. But I think if he would have did this more, layering colors on top of each other, he would have got a really nice effect with really beautiful colors. Next is slightly lighter color than that, I think is what I did. I'm trying to remember. A little bit more toward red. And I'm just going to make a few strokes with this here, not many. Really make sure to get the strokes right. If you mess up, just go ahead and don't be afraid to hit the undo button. Because some happy accidents we don't want in our painting. Yeah, we could fix them, but why when we can just undo? Now, I'm trying to keep that dark. There's dark lines in there. I don't want to get rid of those completely. So I'm just kind of going over this a couple places. And sometimes I'll just come straight down like this and just kind of pull in some of this color. So it's a light pressure and then harder pressure, then let off. It's you just lightly touch it and then push a little bit harder and then let off. So it's like light, hard, light. It's a stroke that takes a little bit of practice. And anyone can do this. This is not a difficult painting. Literally, I think anyone can do this. It's all a matter of practicing the tools that you're using. Now, if this is uncomfortable to paint like this, you don't have to paint how I'm painting. This is just, I'm doing this for recording purposes. This isn't how I usually paint. Although I have been lately painting with my arm not on the thing like this. But I usually sit down, but I've been painting with like holding my elbow and painting like that, like with my brush, almost like it's a brush, rather than getting like this and really, being on it. Alright, so that adds some nice variation. Now we're going to come in with our lighter colors. And I start from the left and go to the right. And with the left I use a kind of a warm, something like this, a little bit desaturated, somewhere right about there. Let me make sure that's the right color. Nope. I went even lighter than that. There we go. So it's almost white, but not quite white. Now I'm going to come right here, make that stream like it's coming, based on like coming, where's that stream at? And then pulling it down. That water, think about where the water is coming from. So the water is coming from up here, and you just kind of come across with a little bit of cut of water, and then have that water come down. And just sometimes I like to go over it a couple times with lighter pressure. I want to add just a little bit of light in there. I'm making this one to where it's not as dark as the first one, like that, and just kind of pull it down like so. About like that looks good. Over here I want this side to be really bright, so I'm going to add a lot of strokes here. I might even come in with a brighter color on top of this. Like so. Now we're just going to add a few Gotta be careful not to pick up that really dark color, because it will pick this dark color up and drag it, as you can see. And then I'm just going to come all the way across here and just add a few more of these lighter strokes in here. Like that. Whoosh. Come across and whoosh, straight down like that. And then I'm going to take this bright pink color here. I'm going to come right up into here like so. I just want some of that, almost like it's reflecting off of the water on this side. And there we have it. Now if you want, you can actually add a little bit of mist and stuff to some of this, but I want to take this color here and make it a little bit oranger and a little bit brighter. I want to just bring just a couple little strokes with this really bright color here. This is where light is hitting a lot, some more like pure white color. And then I want to take that bright pink color again. I want to add just some of it right here, maybe not that much, just a very, very light stroke like that. I just want some of it in. I'm gonna kind of lift, I'm gonna kind of push up into the waterfall instead of pulling down. I'm just trying to add some color back into some of the waterfall here. Just kind of flicking up. It's a kind of a flick up motion with your hand there. Something about like that. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to take this, just color pick one of these colors here that's kind of lighter and maybe drop it down a little bit. We don't want it too light. And this is where we're going to add our water coming off here. So the little water movement that's making its way, then I'm going to kind of blend that in. So this kind of looks like water that has moved across right here on top of this rock or whatever, cliff, whatever it is. We just need to show a little bit of water lines just to show that water is moving back there and moving toward where it's going to fall off. I might even make a couple little waves by pushing up and then pulling it like that. Slightly pushing up and then just kind of pulling it out and kind of blending it like that. That looks like there's some ruffled up water there. And I'm going to take this dark color here. I want to pull it out. Just pull that cliff out just a little bit like that. So that way it's like overlapping the waterfall. So now you can see this waterfall behind it and in front of it. I like that look. If you need to, if you want to, you can take the mountain textured, this one here, the one beneath the square, the textured brush, and just take some of that color. And I think that's a little bit too bright, so we'll bring it way down here and make it a lot more gray. And just add a little bit of texture right there to show that we have some texture on the rock. I think that works. Yeah, so everything's looking nice so far. We're actually almost done. We just got to do the secondary waterfall, which comes off here, which is mostly like a mist waterfall. And for that one, we really want to add a lot of this kind of pink color first. And I'm going to lay it right in with my mountain brush. So I'm going to just come up right here. We're just going to lay in this color, a beautiful color. And we're going to come down like this. Remember, we're going to be layering this in, so the next layer will be the mountain thing or the cliff with the bushes. But we want to layer this in first like that. Give us enough room to make our waterfall come down. We're going to go back to that same tree brush, or in this case it's like a fan brush. And we're going to add these different colors into the water. So I'm going to use the same colors I think in the background here, like that color right there. We just want to kind of pull it off and down. We just want a couple streaks, so we're going to come here and just kind of pull it. I'm going to use a big brush because this is coming more toward us. So we just need to pull this coming down like that. I don't need that many. It's kind of more at an angle like this. And I don't need much. I just need a little bit of texture because a lot of this is actually going to end up being more misty. And to make it misty, what I did is I actually used this brush and I just made it a little bit smaller. Remember, the fan brush is really versatile. You can really do a whole entire painting with just a fan brush when we're talking about traditional painting. I'm going to do a little scrubbing motion similar to the clouds And I'm going to follow along the shape here and just kind of lightly push up. This will kind of start to create that kind of mist look that I'm going for. Like so. Just kind of mix that together. Kind of push up and follow down at an angle. Now to do that properly, I'm just touching it very lightly and just kind of pushing up in little circles. So it's just pushing up like this and then little circles, and I follow that down like that to make it look messy. And then I kind of very lightly touch it, and this will blend, and I kind of start fluffing it up like that. I'm kind of fluffing up in a circle. I'm pulling up like this to make it look like little mist is coming up and like little. I want to just take this entire color right here as well, just kind of little circles. We want this to almost look blurry, but not quite, but like little mist. And then we can use our blender brush and blend some of this out, like so. I might even add a little bit of orangish yellow, because I had that in the original. I just want to add a little bit of that right there. And I'm going to turn it way down, and oops, not that far down. So there we go, just a little bit of yellow right here. Just kind of add that in there. Color variation's nice. It adds a lot to your work. Now this is kind of, usually I would turn, I could also change the angle of the brush in the settings, but that's okay. I'm just going to add a little bit of color here and there. Just kind of changing it up a little bit. Then I'm going to take this white here and we're going to kind of just blend this out. And I'm just lightly touching it with this brush and just kind of pulling down. I'm not using any pressure when I go up. I'm letting off the pressure completely. I'm hovering above. I'm only pulling down with pressure. So it might look like I'm just scribbling, but I'm actually only pulling down. And that's going to give me more of a nice fluffy look that I'm looking for there. Now I'm going to use the blender brush. We're going to turn this down in size a lot. We don't want it too big. And we're just going to lightly go in little circles and start to fluff this out. I'm gonna follow each shape so that I'm coming down with these shapes like this. I can actually just leave it like that. I'm just coming down with these shapes here, and some of them I'm just like pulling, just lightly pulling it down and then lightly going in little circles. Just fluffing that out like this. And then kind of coming up and following the shape of that mist. That way it looks like the waterfall is just kind of misting over the side there. I'm going to take this pink now, I'm going to kind of pull it up. That's why I left those lines there, so I can pull it up into the other color. How I'm doing that is I'm just touching it and pulling it up. Touching and pulling it up. Letting off the pressure as I pull up a little bit. Now I'm going to take some of this white and just kind of little circles and pull down. Just trying to pull that color down. And I'm going to try to pull some of this pink up. Like so. I don't want this to have too many streaks in it. Now if you need to, you can go in and add some, if you need to go and add some color back into it, you can go in and add some color right back into it. Now I'm just kind of fluffing out this. I'm going to kind of fluff out some of that background, bottom background waterfall there. We can always come back and add some more cloud mist over all this. I really want this to look like it's spraying off, so I want to lift up, pull it and lift up like that, but not too hard. That one was probably too hard. Then sometimes little circles at the end. So I'm kind of pulling up and then like little circle motions like that. And this right here gives that nice misty look. You can also take your cloud brush and make it smaller. Grab the colors that are next that you want to mist out and just lightly little circle motions and kind of pull it where you want it. Take this kind of pink color here, just kind of pulling it up, kind of following the shape that I want, like that. And this kind of, and I'm going to take this darker color in between, and alternating back and forth between light and dark makes it look like it has those rows. And then I'm going to come back to my blender tool, the awesome blender, and just little circle motions and kind of follow that shape and pull it. like so. This here takes a little bit more time than a lot of the stuff Bob Ross does, and I feel like I'm explaining a lot more, so that's why the video is going to be a little longer than, you know, not a little bit longer, a lot longer. It's more like an hour, going to be like an hour long instead of just 30 minutes like Bob Ross's episodes, but that's okay. Wouldn't be as fun if I didn't explain what I was doing. That was the whole point, is to teach people how to do this themselves. Now I made this one a lot brighter than the original one, and if you don't want it as bright, you can always tone it all down. You can just go into desaturation. Well, I kind of like this. I like this really bright look. I almost wonder why I didn't make it as bright in the original. And who knows? Maybe I'll end up using this one and keeping it as well. I like working big, so it's already ready for print. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our little cliff using the mountain. This is the square mountain brush. I can't remember what it's called, but the mountain flat. We're going to go toward like red, and we're going to come down here, because now we're coming more toward the foreground where we have some more light hitting, so we're not so much in it, we're not being affected by the atmosphere so much, and just kind of make some shapes like so. It doesn't have to be perfect, just want some different shapes there. Maybe I'll even use a darker color than this. I'm trying to figure out if that's dark enough. You know, I might go a little darker. I might just go with go more toward purple, more desaturated and darker. Even more desaturated and darker. Yeah, that's going to be my base color. There we go. Just adding some cool texture there. I could also turn this up, make it bigger, make it go faster. And like so. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to add texture to this anyway. Now we're taking the brush right below that, which is our texture mountain brush. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit more toward the red. So it's a little bit browner, make it lighter, turn it up. I just want to add a few strokes. And so it's kind of like the knife brush. It's actually very much like the knife brush. And we're going to kind of just pull down some shapes here. I'll explain how I'm doing this in just a second. And then I'm kind of blend some of that out. I'm not going to see a lot anyway because we're going to have a lot of bushes. But basically, you just kind of start and you just lightly pull. So you set it on there, put a little bit of pressure, and then just kind of pull. You want like one stroke, just kind of pull in the direction, or you can go slower too. You'll get the same result. So I go back with the dark color, and you just kind of go slow. You can see that texture coming through very nicely, and it breaks just like paint. And if I zoom in on that, I'll show you what that looks like. Look at that. It breaks just like paint. Looks really, really nice. So I'm going to come back with this. I'm going to undo that actually. But as you can see there, if I want to add just a little bit more texture back in there, I can blend it out. Boom. And just lightly touch it and blend it out. So you got to be careful to not overblend. And something like that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add our bushes in. Now originally when I did this, I actually added some white branches, or kind of not white, but some lighter branches in ahead of time. So I had an idea where I wanted to place my bushes, and we can do that too. But first, let's start with our distant bush here, the one that starts right here. In this case, I'm using a different bush. I have two different bush brushes here, and they have this kind of leaf shape on them. I'm not sure what that's called. I think one's called detailed brushes or bushes, and the other one's something else. I'm going to start with the dark blue color. This is what I almost always do for my bushes. Desaturated, dark blue. We're going to just lay this in here. This brush is really kind of finicky and weird. You want to just do little soft circle motions. So this is where it's different than Bob Ross, and when he does bushes, it's usually a 2-inch brush, and he just kind of takes the corner and just kind of pushes up like that, just kind of pushes into the canvas and just kind of goes like that. With this one, you can't do that. You have to kind of do little circle motions. It's more like making clouds. So we're going to come right off the edge here, kind of push with hard pressure at first, and just decide where you want these happy little bushes to be. A couple little friends next to him. And then just lightly little light circles. This kind of gets rid of some of that hard texture that will be there if you don't do that. You gotta kind of work in layers with this one, like so. And if I zoom in on this, I just want to show you what I'm talking about. You can see how it's very, very textured. If I just leave it like that, it's a very, very textured brush. Now if you like that look, that's good, but you can always just do softer strokes to get rid of that. And then I'm gonna actually leave it zoomed in real quick like this, because sometimes, you know, he zooms in when he does it at least on the camera. He's not, you know, he might get closer to the canvas, I don't know. Usually he's zoomed in when he's doing it. Now we want to go with the kind of green color here with a little bit of blue in it, so kind of lean toward the cyan color a little bit, and we don't want it too saturated. I think I'm going to go with something about like that. Now you can use whatever colors you want. It's your world, so you can make it. Make sure to leave some dark though, because if you don't leave any dark, it won't look like it's a bush. It'll just look like a glob of something. Now, because I want this to be more psychedelic and just kind of really trippy, like I'm on some nice acid or something. I'm totally kidding. I don't do that. Like that. What I just kind of want it to have that magical look to it, you know, and so as we come to the foreground here, we get these magical colors going on down with all the bright colors and everything. I mean, if you wanted to, you can even add some of this color into your bush, and that will be perfectly okay, just right on the edges here, and just kind of just dab on the edges here just a little bit, as if that color is reflecting into the bush. And I didn't do it in the original one. I'm glad I did that because it looks really nice. Next we can add a little bit of grass textures and things like that, but let's go ahead and add some more bushes first, and then maybe we'll add some more. We could add a couple more little bushes right here, or some grass texture. I added grass texture in the original one, it looks like. I'm going to use my other brush, bush brush. Kind of hard to say. I'm just add a few little balls here. I want to go even darker than that. And I'm just kind of following the terrain, just kind of going down. And then we're going to make this a little bit kind of a blue or green this time. Make it a little more crazy looking here. That's kind of cool looking. I like that. Maybe add a little bit of that pink in there as well. Same kind of technique. I'm going soft, between hard and soft to get the desired effect. I don't know if I like the pink right there on that one. Maybe reduce the size of my brush and just add just a little bit of pink. Like so. That's too much. I mean, just like that. Okay. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to grab that dark color over here again. Go back to our other brush tool and add the bushes. Actually, first, before we add the bushes, I'm going to add the streaks. Now, you don't have these brushes. I need to put my regular painting brushes on there. This is I like using this brush right here. It's really good to make nice lines with. It's my main painting brush. It's my workhorse for doing things like painting the fairy or just painting stuff that's not, you know, nature. But let's look at a Bob Ross brush that we can use for this. And I think we'll use the mountain brush, and we'll just turn it way down in size. And that's going to give us some nice branches. And I'm going to take this kind of brown color and just kind of turn it up. Make it desaturated, but turn it up a little bit. And this is going to look pretty light, as you can see on the canvas, we'll call it. And I just kind of pull up one here, maybe, and pull another branch off. That's a little bit too high. I didn't go that high before. I'm going to go a little bit lower, maybe here. And I think I had one here. I'm not trying to match it perfectly, but I did want to get somewhat of the same look. I'm going to have some branches coming off like that. Actually, I didn't have bushes coming down that far, so just right there. And that gives me a couple little places where I can add some bush ends to it. We're going to go back to the bush brush, and I'm debating which one I want to use. I'm going to use this one here. And I'm going to just turn the size down a little bit. And we'll go back to this dark color over here that I have in the trees. As you can see, it's this kind of dark, desaturated blue. And we're going to just little balls, just put little kind of ball shapes on the top here. And I think actually I'm going to start with this brush first. And maybe I can add some texture if I wanted to that. And on the edge of each one of these branches, I'm just adding a little like kind of oval ball. And I'm doing little circles, so I'm not just going back and forth. I'm little circles, so as I go across, if I'm making something that's oval, I do little circles and I go across. So to exaggerate that, I go like this. And then I kind of push up and out. I'm going to add another one right here, one down here. And then we're going to have some other bushes that will cover these. But I don't know what kind of bushes these are, but I just liked them, so they're there. This was based on a photograph, and I think I might still have it. I'm not sure. I was gonna save that so I can show you guys how different you can make a photograph. But if you haven't seen my wheat one, the one with the girl and the wheat, check that out. That gives a good example. She has the hat on and she's waving at the airplane. It gives a good example of what I'm talking about, when you can just take a photo and really just use it as inspiration only and change it a lot. I'm going to add green now. I'm going to use kind of a desaturated green, kind of a dark green. And just add it on the sides only. We want some of that darkness to still be there. Again, I'm just little circles on the edges here. I like this bush brush because it makes it different. Now you can always mess around with textures too. You can go into the textures or the brush shape, the tip shape here, and you can try different tip shapes and see what it looks like. You can scroll through all this right here and just try different bush tip shapes. I think I also offered the ABR file for this guy's textures or brush tip shapes. That's the main one there, the detailed brush shape. And you can try, there's another one here you can try, and so forth. And you click that and you can try it and see how it works. And I think that right there is pretty much good. I might take it really bright green, a little more saturated, and just kind of hit the edges like so. I just want a little bit, and it's almost like one little brush stroke. I'm going like that, like this. Boom, just exaggerate what I'm doing. So a little half circle like that, and just boom, just to grab some color on there, like so. And I might even take some of that pink and just hit a few of these with some of that, kind of like that. Looks nice. No, that's too much. Maybe just right there like that. Okay. Alright, now we're going to go back. We're going to take this blue color here again, that dark blue color, so you can see what it looks like up here. And I'm going to take I'm going to use this bush as my base, and then I'll maybe use the other one to add a little bit more texture. We're going to add just like, looks like 4 little bushes. I kind of like that cliff right there, so I'm going to do one right here. Another ball right here. Just little circle motions, another ball right here. And I think I'm going to have one big one right here. Alright, so those are my main bushes. We're going to take some green, desaturated green. It's a little bit dark, not too dark. And I'm kind of making it blend in with that color. And I'm just adding just some basic shapes in here like that. That gives me some really nice basic shapes to work with. And then I'm going to take this other brush here and leave it kind of small. I'm just going to kind of build on top of that and kind of pull out the edges here. I might go a little bit bigger with the brush actually. Like that, just to add some fuzziness, some texture like you would get with the 2-inch brush. That's what this mimics. It mimics that kind of you know, spotty texture, like when all the bristles are pushed up against the canvas. They kind of leave those little dots and it looks nice. Look at this, we're actually almost done. We're not going to be painting the fairies. If I get a bunch of requests like, hey, can you please show you how you painted the fairy, then maybe I'll do that. But it's really just, you know, painting people with wings and clothes on. I'm going to add a little bit of really bright, going almost toward the yellow. I'm just add a few of these, not much. And this makes it look like just a little bit of light is peeking through somewhere off canvas. You can't see where it's coming from, but it's coming from kind of above somewhere, and it's just kind of hitting some of those, and it looks nice. But it's almost like on this side, not on that side so much. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Maybe add just a few more like that, just to get some variation. You could even add some variation, like maybe add some browns or something, just to get some variation in color right here if you wanted to. And kind of blend that out by little round circles with the same brush. Very, very light pressure, and it blends it out. I kind of like that. It adds a little bit of difference into it, and it's kind of more with that orangey color. Now if you wanted to, you could go and add some mist back in here, so we'll do that really fast. I'm just kind of looking at it and see what I want changed. And I like to keep these episodes at an hour or less, so we're right there at that hour point now. Make that a little bit lighter, just kind of pull some of that mist up. Use my blender brush and we'll call this done. Kind of just blend it out like that. I actually want to go really fast here. I'm going to use the sky brush now. I want to add some actual, what looks like mist. And then I'll kind of blend some of that out and kind of push it around. Just little half circles, like almost like this. Like I'm also making like a number 6. Push that mist down here. There we go. Now it looks like mist. Alright, then finally I like to sign it, and I like to sign it with fuchsia. A little bit different than Bob Ross, who likes to use red. Liked to use red, I should say. Well, wait a minute. Did I just somehow zoom it? Oh, snap. They did it. It sucks ass, but they did it. You have to use a lot of pressure for some reason, but I guess in the update, doesn't support multi-finger touch though. Oh well. But zooming in is so hard, I don't think I'll be using that feature, not until they fix it. But they are listening to us, that's good, I like that. So I just do my N, F here. I like this, because I can make sure I get my signature just how I want it. This is hard, the way I'm painting right now. I like to date my work. That's a personal preference. It's up to you whether you want to date your work or not. And yeah, look at that. Some nice little textures. Looks really good. Very Bob Ross-like. And let's go ahead and try to... Actually, I'm going to hit this button here to fit it in. And there we go. So that's all. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have enjoyed this episode of Digital Ross, then do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. Also, share this with your friends, because the chances are if you liked it, then they'll like it too. Just share it all over the place. Just be happy and share it and throw it with your friends. Just snort it everywhere. Just throw it into your friend's lap and tell them, watch this video. No, but for real, just hit that share button or copy and paste the link and share on your favorite social media. That'll be a really big help because it really helps a lot. That's probably the best thing you can do. And if you have any questions at all about the technique and how to do this, and or if you want to share your painting with me, and then maybe it'll show up on a future episode, or I can show your paintings, or maybe I'll show them on my website, on my blog, make a blog post with a bunch of your guys' paintings. Do me a favor. Go to the description below, go to masterpaintingnow.com, just click on the link. Once you're there, hit contact me, and I think there's a little contact form. You can email me and send in your picture. Or if there's not a way to send in the picture, I can't remember. If there's not a way to attach an image, then just go ahead and email me and say, hey, I would like to send you my painting that I did with watching your video. And then I'll go ahead and give you the email you can post it to. Send it to me on, and then I'll go ahead and post that in the next episode if you want me to. Or post it on my website as a blog post so everyone can see how easy this is to do and how awesome these brushes are. Now if you want to, you can take some time to go back there and fix up these waterfalls in the background here. I was just looking at them, I'm like, you know what, that's not quite it's not quite what I wanted them to look like in some parts. I have to be careful not to go too far down because I don't want to redo everything again. But I just want to kind of add some texture back in here. And that's way too hard. Just lightly lift up. I'm going to pull that down. There we go. And I think that's alright. It can definitely be better. But, you know, I usually finish these in about, like when I do my own time, about an hour and a half, so I try to be a little bit faster and I'm explaining things. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Would you rather, does it matter whether it's how fast or slow it is to you? Or would you just rather it be, I just don't want to miss anything for you guys. Make sure I get all the information and detail in there for you. I'm going to add some more texture for that one there. I like that. Lost a little bit of the texture that I wanted to bring some of that back. And this brush is perfect to just bring some of that texture right back into that. Maybe even take this right here and kind of get rid of that. Just kind of blend that in. Then I can take my awesome blender. Just kind of blend this right together. Make that look like mist. Alright, there it is. Yeah, so please do that, and feel free to send me your versions of the painting. I'd love to see them. And until next time, I don't know what to say. What's a good sign out? Bye. No, that's dumb. Until next time, I've enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed it too.